Hi there again, everybody. Welcome back to Prestige Auctions. It's auction aftermath time once again. It's Sunday already, and we are one day off being into September. So the cold months are coming, but always when the cold months come, the auction seems to get busier. So be ready for it this year. There's going to be loads of stuff coming through Prestige. We had a great auction yesterday. We had about 11,500 lots, I think it was yesterday, and some really interesting stuff. We cleared an interesting property on the coast. And it brought a few interesting bits in. It was a large property that had lots of stuff in it, but not too many saleables. But what did come in was okay. So we sort of put an auction together this week, which we knew had some sort of larger furniture in. Tool room wasn't as busy this week. Jewellery cabinet was extremely busy. Picked up a few new customers along the way this week as well. So there you go. What I'm going to do today, if this is your first time here watching the auction aftermath, the idea of this is, unlike many auction rooms who just want to take your money off you, what we like to do is go through some of the stuff that, yes, we advertised it all week for you to buy it, but now we're going to tell you some of the things of why they're sold so well, maybe when we can get our heads around that, and also giving you some hints and tips on how to buy at auction, because it's important that if you understand auctions and understand the buying and the selling process and looking out for certain things, then you can of course make some money from the auction. Many people have come to Prestige just as a one-off customer in the past and ended up being here 2 years later still buying and selling, and making enough money for a holiday or a car or whatever every year, because they've got their head round on how to buy and sell. And it's not always that easy, so don't think it's just going to be dead simple, because it's not. But if you listen, you'll learn. So without any further ado, let's have a look at yesterday's auction. And it started off there was a big musical theme, of course, to yesterday's auction. As you can see here, these amplifiers and things, guitar amps, some of them sold well. That one sold a lot better. I mean, it's obviously a better brand, and then stuff like these. But these were selling at like 15s and 20 quids. There was profit to be made in these if you was a buyer and a reseller. People, especially that one, and a lovely little PV amp at the end there, which is a very, very good brand. So don't just, if you're starting out buying and selling, boxes of assorted, these are the way. You can split these down, sell them. Your risk is a lot lower. Risk is always a lot lower in boxes of assorted, because if you can pick the right boxes of assorted, sell them on, to various people on Vinted and eBay and Facebook Marketplace, or even to your friends, boot sales, whatever, then your risk is a lot lower. When you start buying more sort of single items, the risks get higher. You've got to know your trade a lot better. This one did okay. The Nerf guns yesterday, now sort of thing. These are sort of things that you'd walk by at a boot sale, because they're just toys. Everyone you hear it on the boot sales all the time. Oh, it's just toys. It's full of toys. Well, some people are making a lot of money from toys. So these Nerf guns that made sort of 20 odd quid yesterday, the two big guns on the top particularly are probably worth that each. So again, somebody's making money. These have been a bit of a craze over the last couple of years, these squishies, and they're starting to work their way into the auction room now. But again, some people are still buying them. So there are opportunities to be made even on things of soft toys and that. When it comes to stuff like this, the Yamaha, all you need for professional music production, fantastic bit of kit. That gentleman plugged it in before the auction, was happy that it worked, and then bid on it. Paid £60 something for it. But again, look how much they are online. They're a lot of money to buy. So again, profit to be made. So of course, these are all the things that come out of house clearance, and one of the things we're trying to get across to people at Prestige constantly is that stop giving all your stuff away. Stop getting house clearance companies just to clear it all for you, that say they're going to tip it when they actually don't. Ultimately, get your stuff, get your house clearance to Prestige Auctions, let us sell it for you, and then you can make money at the other end. You see, even if you can't be bothered to do the buying and selling, if you've got stuff to clear, then this is the way to do it. Look at this lovely spice rack. Still had some spices in some of those as well, in fact most of them, and that one made, I think it was like 40 quid, something like that. Again, something that maybe you would have given away, chucked away, whatever. Things like this, stuff like this to look out for. Military hats, military military stuff can often be worth money, and these were making sort of 20 odd pounds a piece. So, but again, still potentially profiting them. DVDs were cheap yesterday. These were making £4 a box. Now, bearing in mind, these are banana boxes, and these coming from a company that don't really go through them. So, and when it comes to the CDs, I think were making around £16 a box yesterday. But again, there's some good titles in these. They're not just full of, Spice Girls and Steps and stuff like that sold loads and loads of stuff. There's some real interesting stuff in there, including metal and rock and things. So these here, real shame with these that they weren't in better condition. So, of course, these top pieces here go onto these bottom pieces, and then the bottom pieces sit on those pieces there. So ultimately, if they'd have been in really good condition, they'd have been doing 100 plus. I think they did about 60 odd quid from what I remember. I can tell you next week we've got some fantastic ones in, very similar to those, but in much better condition. But they're not bad, to be fair. Things like the trunkies and that we're selling, for kids' suitcases and things, that's what they are. And then one or two bargains around pottery this week because it's not a fortune to buy. I thought these were cheap this week in the auction. These Bezic Siamese cats. These were the two big ones there, and then we had the Dalton one afterwards. They was making sort of tenors. Well, they're 20, 30 quid, doubling your money. Doubling your money this day and age in this game. It's not an easy thing to do, but there were things yesterday in the auction what you could have achieved that. Thought that was cheap as well. Another cheap lot there. Very, very nice retro glass set with the decanter as well. And I think it was £10 or £12. Well, on any good vintage, retro, antique stall, whatever you want to put it on, that's 30, 40 quid all day long. Things like the Staffordshire dogs, these have come back in value a little bit in recent times. I mean, for a while you couldn't give them away, but now they're making £20s and £30 each time. I wouldn't say rush out and buy them, everybody. Certainly wouldn't, because they are a very fickle marketplace, those ones. 110, 120 quid for the Royal Albert Country Rose, still as popular as ever. All the dealers want it, always around the same price when you have a collection like that in. So it's always good to get that in and get it sold. Again, would I advise buying it? Only if you know what you're doing. There's certain things you have to look out for, and those you have to look out for strikers, stuff that are seconds, wear on the gilding, if they've had excessive use in dishwashers and things. Just don't jump into just buying that because it sells quite easily. You've got to understand your stuff. So again, research. Costume jewellery was selling reasonably cheap yesterday for people that were buying that. And to be fair, some of the smaller pieces of jewellery were reasonably cheap as well. But this one here, some sort of perfume box or whatever it was, that sold okay. I seem to think made 40 odd quid if I remember rightly. And as we come down here, there was more sorts of bits and bobs and, things like this again. Sleeves of badges, 3 sleeves of badges there that didn't make that much money, 16, 18 quid from what I remember. Profit in that all day long. So we come on to the watches. Some of the watches sold okay. Some of them sold okay. I mean, to be fair, some of these watches here, even though they are Seconda in the watch market doesn't have a humongous resale value. So, to be getting 20s, 30s and £40 for these yesterday was okay money for those. All of the currency was selling yesterday. Old pound notes, old pound coins, old 50p's. There was money to be made in those if you're a collector and you want to resell them on. £2 coins here in the yellow bag, and there was some £5 coins hidden away in a bag as well. Some of the silver stuff, silver curb chains and that, again, we're very careful at Prestige to sort of look at this stuff, because you do get a lot of this stuff that's makes out that it's silver that's coming from some of these overseas websites where it'll say 925 on it, and a lot of the time it is silver plated. Trouble is, it's not worth a great deal. So when we are sort of always on the lookout for those. We don't always get them, so you've always got a view, but we do try and make sure that the silver that's coming in like this, if we announce that it's 925 silver, we're trying to get it right for you guys. Again, small silver curb chain there. These was making a few quid. There's making about £1 a gram, something like that. It was sterling silver at 77p a gram at the minute. It's not out of the way. If for actually buying an item, it's relatively cheap still. some of the copy watches and things that you just seem to get week in, week out. There must be so many of them out there. Blue Peter badge, you wanted one of those. There you go. Somebody bought that one, was extremely happy when they see it in the cabinet as well. I was on the cabinet. Some of the gold yesterday was relatively cheap. Not all of it, but you know, there were bargains to be had. As you come down here, there was some of the silver chains and things not making much money. Silver rings not making much money. And I do wonder if all of a sudden we're seeing a little bit of a dip in the marketplace where people, you know, we're coming up to September, people may be thinking about Christmas and stuff. Are people being a little bit more prudent with the money? Maybe. But if they are, that is the time to buy, everybody. That absolutely is the time to buy, because bargains will be all over the place. So, you know, keep some money by, and, you know, try and save that money, and then when the bargains are there, you can buy them. This one here made 100 odd quid, this one, I believe. A little gold compass. Never seen out quite like it, so it's quite a nice thing. Why did it make so much money? Well, because it's so different, and you don't see it all the time. Stuff that you're seeing all the time, well, you know, it's never going to make fortunes, is it? The Grimsby spoon sold okay, 25 quid. Some big money around for these. Silver charm bracelets, 230, 250 quid, something like that, for 172 grams. But is it out of the way? I don't think it is, you know. Break these down, sell the charms off separately. There's lots of money to be made. I've done it myself, but in the past. So, you know, don't just think, oh, you know, that made a lot of money. You know, try and think what other people are thinking. And if you do, you'll get your head around buying and selling a lot quicker. Gold sovereigns, the gold sovereign in the mount there, 660, I believe that did, with the mount on as well. Gold sovereigns, everyone's after them at the minute. All of the notes sold, the £5, the £1, £10, and that £50 there, they all made a little bit above the face value. As you come down here, there was more gold. Some gold and some plated stuff as well, but you know, some really nice gear down here. Anyway, then we got onto the shelves at the back. The Fortnum and Mason basket, 30 odd quid, I think that was, you know. So again, don't just chuck stuff like this away. I see some of those for sale on the boot sale the other week, similar to that, £5 and £6 each, you know. So get them bought, get them in the auction, because you're in a different kind of marketplace. Some of the retro stuff, like the retro magazine rack there, you know, these weren't selling for loads of money. There was £5 and £6, but you know, again, do them all, put them on your antique stall, put them on vintage, whatever you do these days, and you know, there's profit to be made. As we came through past the small electricals and things, the whiskey bottle did okay this week. We had one in. Again, people like to buy these to put the 2s, 1s, 5s, 10s and all the rest of it in, and you know, save up all the change for Christmas or whatever. I think that made about £20 odd this week, from what I remember. I've had a few in lately. Some have made as little as 5 and 6. Some have made as much as 30 and 40. So, you know, again, research, look at them, or how badly does somebody want it? How badly do two people want it is probably the most important thing. Some of the electricals were selling okay. That was a surprise to me. I know we put those in. They'd bought them, didn't like the flavour, so they were brand new. You know, there was like, you know, £1 a bottle, £1.50 a bottle. They couldn't make £4 for all them. Massive loads of date on them, which is very strange. But anyway, it is what it is, unless they're sold afterwards, maybe. Lamps and things, again, you know, lamps can be tricky, but lamps are very expensive to buy. So, you know, you need to do your research on those, find out where they've been made, what brand they are, and again, of course, more money to be made. As we came down here, Lisa had taken over at this point, and she started selling some of the musical instruments, guitars, and she'd taken over briefly, yeah, because I had to get the van out, I think, or a car out, that was it. And then we got onto these, and this Hornsey, that was cheap this week, £4 for all that Hornsey there. Look online, there was loads of money to be made on there. The magic sets, I bought those, I was happy with those. I bought them myself because I want to mess about and learn it. It'll be a bit of fun to show the grandkids. And then down here, we got all the guitars. Now, some of the guitars were very low-end guitars, sort of stuff that you'd buy for kids to practice on, etc. So some of them were making as low as £4. But once you got onto the better stuff, you know, the quality shone through. When you got onto this kind of gear here, then this kind of gear here was, you know, really decent stuff. Electric guitars, bass guitars, rhythm guitars, whatever you call them. A lot of this stuff that was stood up on the stands was making a lot more money, some £50s and £60. But again, I'm not going to sit here and preach to you about what to buy in musical instruments because I don't understand the subject. So we put them in and people go for it the best they can, but I'm sure there was money to be made in some of those. The clock sold okay, that one there. I think that one made, I want to say 40 odd quid, something like that. And then we came down here through the middle of the room, and Lisa had taken over, sold all the clothes and things. They was making, I mean, look, there was a bag, there was bangers to bed. They was making like 4 quid for all of those clothes. You know, all decent quality clothes in good condition. Take them to Vinted, put them on at £1 each, £2 each, whatever you do, sell them quick. You're going to triple, quadruple your money. You know, it's not rocket science, any of this buying and selling like. It's, you know, especially with the stuff that you've got at your fingertips in a you know, smartphone these days. You can do research very, very quickly. Down here, the back table, Lisa was selling all this, so I don't know a great deal what happened. I do know that I bought these for the challenge that we're doing, where we're trying to buy and sell to make money, and these were all Danbury Mint ones and all railway stuff. Fantastic for online. You know, I think I can double our money on those, hopefully with a bit of work. Fanta Orange and Pepsi was selling. It just goes to show you that anything can sell in the auction room. We've sold crisps and drinks and things in the past, and they've always done okay in here. So, you know, don't write them off. I mean, I stood at the jewelry counter and I heard somebody go, "My God, they've even got Coke in here," and I was like, I wanted to go, it's not Coke, Pepsi, like they do in the pubs, but I didn't. I stopped myself. Mirrors and things, Lisa was selling all this, so again, I know I heard a shout out, if you want to buy any of these not solds, the 4 quid a box, blah blah blah. So again, I know that the box room didn't do that well. But people do ring up and buy the not solds quite quickly, so it's always good. Into the tool room. Tool room was a little bit different this week. There wasn't loads and loads of high-end tools. There was lots of wire, lots of shop fittings and things, and you know, all of it was selling okay in there. The still stuff sold well. Anything that was any good quality in there sold all right this week. So I want a bad room, but you know, it's one of those rooms where a lot of people are buying stuff for home. There's not so much reselling going on unless it's boxes of tools and fittings and things. So when we came to the front table, things got a bit different. 40 odd quid for that box of records. Again, box of records, if you know your stuff, do your research, you can find, look for the condition. Always look for the condition on records. So like buying a cheap box of records, but if they're all scratched, no one will want them. So Bang & Olufsen stuff was selling okay. Some bits were cheaper than others. Some were 40 odd quid. All of these records here were selling reasonable prices, some cheap, until we got to that one, and that one made all the money. So there must have been 1 or 2 good ones in there. As we came down here, boxes of PC games didn't sell. 4 of them this week. Didn't have the buyers in for those. Fridges and freezers. I'll tell you what, actually, there was a bit of a battle on for that telly. That telly, 40 odd quid, I think, and we've had as low as 6 and 8 quids for those recently. But 2 people went to war on it, which is great. Great for the vendor. These here was the fridge and the freezer. The uprights had these switched on. Very good quality, good. Bosch ones, £60 each they made. Remember that one. Small TVs and things, and then we got onto the Millet stuff. Well, the Millet dryer there, condenser dryer, I want to say that made 80 odd quid, something like that. Worth every penny. Super German quality, that one. Same as the washer there, that was a bit cheaper. And then the Millet dishwasher came up as well. All that selling at reasonable money. But again, potential resale, yes, but potential to upgrade your Beko or whatever you've got at home into something of that quality was there. It was there to buy, and it was there. It was cheap. You know, I just, you know, me and Lisa did exactly the same thing. We upgraded to a Millet washer because they're super quiet, they're super quality, they're gonna last you. And if you can pick them up cheap at the auction rather than having to pay the 1,000, 1,200 quid that they are to buy brand new, then why wouldn't you? Got onto the furniture. The furniture had some interesting bits, and certainly with this one, 1111, a telephone bidder, and the room went to war on this one. This one ended up, even though it had, now to look there's a piece missing, and there's a piece missing over that side as well. It does need a little bit of doing up, a little bit of restoring, but it's still made £350, that one. 350 quid, so you could tell people liked the look of the quality, they wanted it. That one didn't sell from what I remember, and then these drawers sold quite well as well. That I expected to do a bit better made £4 from what I remember. Sets of drawers were selling okay. There's plenty of people, shabby chicers and people that do furniture up in the room, so they weren't making loads of money, but they were selling. And it's always nice to get the furniture away because it takes up loads of space in the auction room. That one there was the bargain of the day. I don't think people could see past the rust and stuff like that, but that sold for £4, and that is by a very, very good maker, that one. But the dealers didn't warm to it, so there you go. That one there, the old pub table, wrought iron with the marble top or granite top, whatever it is, £65, that one. Very heavy tables, those. I think that made about 30 or 40 quid, was it, or 20 quid? I can't remember. That footstool. So one or two bits that came out of this property were selling okay. This one here was a nice bow-fronted chest with sort of walnut finish, but there was one or two handles missing, but generally, if you could see past that, I don't know if there was in the drawer, but if you could see past that, that was a very good quality piece of furniture. Suite sold at about £50. That was cheap. That was a nice piece. And we had the aircon units. The organ didn't sell. Not surprisingly, they never do. And but we thought we'd give it a try. And then we come up to this one there. I think that made about £40. That was quite a nice piece as well. So again, furniture, there are bargains to be had in the furniture. I mean, because stuff like that making 20 odd quid, you can double your money easily on that online. So I suggest to everybody that you do start looking at this sort of stuff and thinking to yourself, do I want to make some extra money for Christmas? Do I want to make an extra few quid to have a night out? There are lots of ways you can do it. And the ways you can do those is by coming to Prestige Auctions every week. Friday we do viewing from 8 in the morning till 7 at night, and the auction starts at 9 on a Saturday. Of course, if you want to keep up to date with what we do, you can do so here on YouTube and on Facebook as well, where we do lots of social media stuff through the week to keep you up to date with what's coming in. We market everything the best we can, which is great for the vendor, and it's great for you buyers that are coming to buy the stuff. If you do enjoy this content, then it's really important to us that you hit that like button, maybe leave a comment as well, tell us what you think to the stuff that we're pumping out there, and of course hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything, it does help our channel grow. Thanks ever so much everybody for watching this short aftermath video. We'll see you all very soon at the auction.